I've been writing actual songs since I was about in 8th grade, but I have songs from when I was little too. Music has been a really important part of my life for a while now. I started piano lessons when I was about 4 years old, and I started voice lessons when I was 10, and I just got into playing guitar about 3 years ago.
And I know why we had to say goodbye like the back of my hand.
My process for writing a song varies depending on the reason I'm writing the song. I use music as a way to cope with my emotions for whatever's happening in that moment or what has happened in the past, but I also love writing hypothetical songs or about songs that could happen in the future and things like that. So I think that's really cool that you have so many different options of what to write about, because it doesn't all have to be about you. It could be about a character or something that's not even related to anything in your life. I've written songs in as little as 10 minutes to songs that have taken days to write. I mostly write heartbreak songs or songs just about the melancholiness of being a teenager, just because I think they're the easiest thing to write. But I do also enjoy writing love songs. It's just more difficult because I feel like whenever I write a love song, it's just a cliche. But I'm getting better at it, and it's just practice makes perfect.
But how is it fair to call me something that you made me? But oh, how you changed me.
My dad and I are actually working on a song that I had started and then I sent to him to kind of polish up a little bit, and we found that that process really works for us, where I start creating the bones of the piece and then he adds all the fun stuff that makes it the song that it is. And it's actually really interesting because when I send him things, I have this whole other aesthetic in my head of what the song should be, and he comes in and he completely changes the vibe, but it just works somehow. Even if things have to get changed, we understand that not everything in music is permanent because it's always changing and always evolving into something different. We definitely work really well together because he is really good at composing and I am good at writing lyrics, and it's kind of like putting two necessary halves together. I definitely wouldn't be able to be where I'm at in music without my dad, so I'm really grateful for that.
Well, when I was growing up, I had an older sister. She was around 9 years older than me, and this was in the time period of the 1970s and early 1980s, which was a great time in music. So she had a very varied interest in music in terms of her taste, and she would buy a lot of albums back then on vinyl, and we would sit in her room and listen to them together. And I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. I was also forced to take piano lessons at a young age as well, which I didn't want to do at first. But once later on, I realized that I could apply what I was learning on piano, and I had a great teacher when I was young who taught me not only how to play, but also all the theory behind it. It really caught on with me, and my love for music kind of grew from there, and started taking interest in not only learning piano, but learning guitar and teaching myself guitar well into I was a teenager and learning guitar as well. So it just grew from there, and at that point then I became even more interested in wanting to learn things about recording and everything that goes along with it. So that's where it really started. I mean, really, music has been a major part of my life because it's not only the music itself, but also the people that you get exposed to who share the same passion for it as you do. So you meet a lot of people, particularly if you decide you want to play in bands or if you want to collaborate with other musicians on different projects. It becomes a great community to be involved with as well. So when I was a teenager in high school, I played in a band. We used to rehearse in my mother's basement growing up. So I was part of that band just with some high school friends. And then when I was a little older in college, I joined a top 40 band. Sort of playing music took a hiatus in my life. After college, when you're starting a career, you're spending all of your time working and don't have as much time for music. So during that time, I became more of a music fan than a musician. But then later, in my 30s, I did pick it up again, particularly when I met some neighbors who I have played music with in the community that we moved to, that we live in now. Started a band with them, and we would play in local clubs and bars in the area. No more hiding, all the skies and truth I sold. Jenny, I've got your number. Again, going back to what I said before about the people you meet and collaborate with, creates great relationships. So that was a good experience as well. So, and then from there, really just got way more into playing guitar and into the recording process, to the point where I built the studio in the house and have collected all the guitars that are behind me here as well. So the interest and passion in music really rekindled itself later on in my life. So the advances in technology, particularly in the past, I would say 15 years or so, have come to the point now where the professional studio is really sort of obsolete. I'm not saying they don't exist, but they certainly don't exist to the extent they did back in the 70s and 80s and even 90s. Because people can now do it themselves. They don't need a professional studio. All that equipment has now been condensed into the computer. From that perspective, you can now create anything you want to in your own home. From a musical perspective, from a production perspective, really an exciting time to be involved in music. It's also given me the opportunity to do some work with my daughter, who's a singer and a songwriter, and that's been a fantastic experience, just seeing her talent evolve. So she's a very prolific writer, and she comes up with great ideas, and it's very exciting when she has a new idea to take it into the studio and to turn it into something that you would hear on the radio or anywhere else, right? So it's very exciting to see an idea evolve into a full production. So that's been great, and her writing process and her interest in music are also very varied as well. So she stylistically creates things across the board, and it's just very exciting to work on those ideas with her.
How do I